Sports, home of racing's biggest events, proudly presents Summer at Saratoga.
Making history, outlasting your opponents, reaching your goals, tasting the spoils of victory. One well-timed performance can place your name on a page in a book among the greatest of all time. But then what? Make history and you live in the record books, but become immortal and you'll live forever.
They're coming down to the line. Fourstardave, a living Saratoga legend.
1 year ago, one horse added his own name to the annals of racing's most historic venue.
Wise Dan dashes to the lead.
He hasn't lost since. Now, Horse of the Year Wise Dan is back at the Spa, seeking to repeat in a race named for one of the track's most beloved performers.
A legend lives on! Fourstardave wins again at the Spa!
Will he make more history on this storied stretch in the search for immortality? The season's only halfway in the record books, but the days aren't getting any longer. It's summer at Saratoga. Saratoga Racecourse celebrating its 150th anniversary this season. Fans pouring in for another stellar day of racing. Handicappers looking for the right information to make a score. As today we honor the legacy of one of the most popular racehorses in Saratoga history with a race that lives in his honor. Summer at Saratoga continues today with the 29th running of the Grade 2 Fourstardave Handicap. 1 mile on grass, the purse $500,000. And here's the star of today's show. His name is Wise Dan, the Horse of the Year. Said his trainer, Charlie Lepresti, quote, "I've never had a horse like this. People don't believe me when I tell them, but he's a freak of nature," unquote. And welcome, everyone, to Saratoga Racecourse. I'm Lafitte Pinkai, and today Wise Dan will become just the 13th reigning Horse of the Year to perform here at the Spa. He'll be the prohibitive favorite in the Grade 2 Fourstardave Handicap. He won this event a season ago. Success today, and he would become only the second horse in history to win this event in successive years. Post time for the Fourstardave around 4:45 Eastern, 5:45 Eastern. But first, some of the highlights of today's show. We start with the Hall of Fame class of 2013, inducted yesterday, now enshrined with the best of the best. And who is Fourstardave? With a nickname like the Sultan of SWAT, he had to be pretty special. Also, much more on Wise Dan seeking his 8th consecutive victory, a streak that began on this stage a season ago. As for those who will be trying to defeat Wise Dan today, here's the competition reading right to left on your television screen. Wise Dan, 3 to 5 in the morning line with John Velasquez, his regular rider. Number 2, Skyring, trained by Hall of Famer Dwayne Lucas. Zaw approval is out. He's a scratch. Number 4, Mr. Commons with Hall of Fame jockey Edgar Prado. So now just a field of 6. Number 5, Willie Conker would be a shock at 30 to 1. King Creasa, expect him to set the tempo throughout. He'll be in front early on and lead to the outside second to Wise Dan in the Firecracker at Churchill Downs. Now, this was a scene 13 years ago in the Fourstardave. That's jockey Jerry Bailey and Hap finding room on the hedge. Hap would wind up winning 10 races during the course of his career, 9 of those with Jerry Bailey in the saddle. Now joined by Hall of Fame jockey Jerry Bailey, racing expert Randy Mawson, and Jerry, Wise Dan is the top-ranked racehorse in North America. On paper, how much better is he than his competition this afternoon?
He dwarfs them. He's won way more Grade 1s than they have. He's made over $4 million. Collectively, the rest of the field has made, less than 3. He wins races in bunches, but it's how he does it from the gate to the wire. Baseball has 5 tool players. I'm going to give Wise Dan 4 tools. He's got the tactical speed for his jockey that allows his jockey to put him almost anywhere in a race he wants to. He's got the acceleration, which is really important to get to any hole in a heartbeat. And he's got the courage to go through those holes, even if they're very, very narrow. And he has the quality to finish it off. I mean, if he could throw, he'd be a 5-tool horse.
But this is a handicap race, Randy. Essentially, the better the horse, the more weight he or she is going to carry. Wise Dan is the high weight today. He'll carry 129 pounds. How much do you think weight will be a factor?
Well, it's clearly a disadvantage. It's all about the spread. He's having to spot 11 to 14 pounds to the other horses. That translates to about 2.5 to 3 lengths. So it is significant. And this is the first time in 31 years that in America a horse in a graded stakes on the grass has had to carry this much weight. The last one was John Henry in '82, and he lost as a heavy favorite. But having said all that, his last race was also a handicap, and he carried 128 that day, and he won. So while he's not unbeatable, he's definitely the horse to beat.
Yeah, Wisedan's last loss on grass, October of 2011. As we welcome in Donna Brothers with more on Wisedan's would-be competition this afternoon. Donna.
Lafitte, one of the horses that's going to be gunning for Wisedan is Mr. Commons, a horse whose recent races are actually better than they look on paper. Looking back to a race 2 starts ago, this race in the Makers 46 mile, Mr. Commons got trapped behind a couple of horses that were stopping in front of him. You can see him there. He's the 2 horse, while Wisedan on the outside in the yellow silks was able to shake away. Mr. Commons also stuck down inside in a spot he doesn't like to be in. And then in his last race, he hadn't raced in almost 3 months. His trainer, John Sheriff, said that he had missed some works going into that race due to weather and track conditions, and he actually needed that race from a standpoint of fitness. But with a good outside trip today, Mr. Commons could give Wisedan a run for his money. Let's go to Kenny Rice.
All right, thanks, Donna. At this track in 1919, Upset handed Man o' War his only loss. Now, that isn't the origin of the term, but after Upset's victory, it was commonly used to describe a big surprise in the world of sports. Lee comes in here today as one of the challengers, hoping to pull a surprise, and he does know about running against Wisedan. He finished second to him his last time out. If he has some kind of advantage, he's trained by Al Stahl, who certainly does know how to pull a big surprise. He came up with one of the biggest wins in recent racing history when Blame handed future Horse of the Year Zenyatta her only career defeat in the Breeders' Cup Classic. So maybe today, Al Stahl has another upset with Lee. Lafitte?
Blame vilified for his defeat of Zenyatta. Can Al Stahl take down yet another racing giant in Wisedan? When we come back, bonus coverage, the Anti-Mame Stakes post time in 4 minutes. We'll be right back.
Somewhere nearby.
NBC's coverage of summer at Saratoga is brought to you by Coolmore America, home of champions, and by Saratoga Racecourse, celebrating 150 years as America's oldest thoroughbred racetrack. The Pro Football Hall of Fame ceremony took place last week in Canton. Horse racings took place yesterday. The class of 2013, 3-time Kentucky Derby winning jockey Calvin Burrell, Pillars of the Turf, August Belmont II, and Paul Mellon, Champions Housebuster, Lure, and Indesor, along with steeplechase Grace Tascali and McDynamo. And conveniently here at Saratoga, Horse Racing's Hall of Fame is right across the street. Just down the street on Union Avenue is the National Museum of Racing and Hall of Fame, which held its inductions on Friday. One notable induction on the equine side was Lure, who took the Breeders' Cup Mile in 1992 and 93 and had 2 victories here at the Spa.
Lure, Mike Smith asking him for everything he has, and he's giving it to him.
And a room full of racing luminaries were on hand to witness the induction of jockey Calvin Burrell, who famously rode to victory in the Kentucky Derby 3 times in a 4-year span, beginning in 2007.
The unflappable Calvin Burrell riding that rail to victory once again in the Kentucky Derby.
There's nothing like winning. When you cross the wire first, believe me, because you and that horse did it, and it just makes you feel so good.
Plenty of reason to feel good now for the Hall of Fame induction class of 2013. A rite of passage for the very best in thoroughbred racing, a plaque in the National Museum of Racing and Hall of Fame. Jerry, what do you remember most about your induction in 1995?
I cried a lot. How emotional it was. It really was. You stand before your friends and family, people that were responsible for getting you to the Hall of Fame. And I can remember in '82 first coming to Saratoga and watching somebody else get inducted, thinking maybe someday it'll be mine. But it's very, very humbling. And I think Calvin Burrell is the epitome of humility. You know, a guy that got up at 5 o'clock or 5:30 the next morning after he won the Kentucky Derby to go help his brother out at the barns. You know, the guy's great.
Congratulations to the newest members of Racing's Hall of Fame. Well, we touched on that bonus coverage. We do have the Anti-Mame Stakes, and we've just about reached post time. It's a $100,000 purse 3-year-old fillies going a mile and a 16th. The current favorite now 9-5, number 8, Summer of Fun, who is a perfect 1-for-1 here on the turf at Saratoga. Fantasy capping returns for its 2013 season. Start your own league or join an existing league today to forge your own road to the Breeders' Cup. Log on to fantasycapping.com to sign up. All right, guys, gearing up for this anti-Mame Stakes. There was a live look at the favorite, Summer of Fun. Randy, why is she the heavy 8-5 favorite at post time?
Well, the race you referred to that she won on the turf was here last year as a 2-year-old. She's 1 for 2 this year, both races on the grass. Last time out, she was beaten in nose. Came out of that race with some minor foot issues. The trainer, George Weaver, has been working on. She's working tremendously in the morning. Weaver is red hot at the meeting, and there's not really anything not to like about Summer of Fun, although it's an evenly matched race.
It is. There's several fillies in here that I think has a chance, including number 2, Preya, coming off just a narrow defeat in the Virginia Oaks. She was flying down the stretch. I mean, 2 more jumps and she's going to win that. But that was at 1 1/8. This is a 16th shorter, so you know something's got to give here. Either her jockey Alan Garcia, who rode her in that afternoon, has to start a little bit earlier, or she's got to have a little more powerful punch.
Don't be surprised if she runs second. Preya second in 5 of 7 lifetime, Randy, as they file into the starting gate. And then you have number 6 pictured currently, Effie Trinket, making her first start on the Saratoga lawn.
Hey, she's won 2 in a row. You know, it was Joel Rosario, the leading rider at Saratoga's on board. Barbie Wire, the 9, is in with the shot. So is the 1, Joy. I mean, this is a very entertaining race because there could be a lot of them right in the hunt the last 1/8 of a mile or so.
Preya would like it longer.
Waiting for Fat Flowers and Magnificent
Effie Trinket
Churl.
would certainly like it shorter. I mean, she's probably going to be on the lead. She comes off a 7-furlong race. She's really, this is stretching her abilities, her limits, trying to get her speed to go this far, and she might be entertained somewhat by Barbie Wire. Be interesting up front.
Tom Durkin with the call. It is post time for the $100,000 anti-Mame Stakes live from Saratoga.
They're in the gate. And they're off. Over the rail, it's Joy. Effie Trinket now takes the lead. So it's Effie Trinket heading for the lead as they move into the first turn. Joy on the inside of He Done Me Wrong Song running along in third. Barbie Wire trying to get a spot there with the facile move, moves over to the inside, saving ground while now fourth. Magnificent Churl runs in mid-pack, or make that Summer of Fun running in mid-pack, now running along in the 5th position, followed by Magnificent Churl, 6th on the outside of Pryor running along in 7th, and then it's an Unbelievable Dream and Fab Flowers at the back of the pack. Effie Trinket takes him into the backstretch run, now clear by 2. Joy up close, on hold 2nd. He Done Me Wrong Song in the clear on the outside 3rd. And then Barbie Wire settles into a beautiful beat there, running along quite comfortably, and she is 4th, about 4.5 lengths from the lead. And it's another 2 back to Summer of Fun. Then together are Praya and Magnificent Churl, about 9 from the lead. Drafting behind those 2, Unbelievable Dream, Fab Flowers the trailer. Effie Trinket still on top through a soft half mile in 50 seconds flat. Effie Trinket into the turn, just on cruise control here with 3 furlongs remaining. And on the outside, He Done Me Wrong Song now makes her move. There goes Barbie Wire. Barbie Wire with a 3-wide charge after the lead. Summer of Fun now coming on. She'll be forced to go 4 wide as they make the turn into the stretch. Then Joy has lost ground down toward the inside, followed by Praya. Off the turn into the stretch. Summer of Fun is coming with a charge on the outside to the lead. Summer of Fun now overhauls the front runner, Effie Trinket. And this Joy who comes off the inside from 3rd, and they're coming down to the finish. Summer of Fun got it by a 1.5 lengths. Effie Trinket held for 2nd. Joy was 3rd. Close 4th, Magnificent Churl or Praya.
So that's the reason Summer of Fun was bet down to 8-5. Summer of Fun, much the best in this anti-Mame Stakes.
Yeah, pretty moderate pace. Jockey Joe Rocco Jr. getting his 2nd win of the day. Was in 5th position down the backside. Really no place to go. They were going so slow. When that happens, they're bunched up. Very little gaps to run between. So Rocco elected to go around, and she was just the best filly in this race.
I guess it is a Summer of Fun for Summer of Fun. I know it's a Summer of Fun for trainer George Weaver. He's now 6 for 14 here at the Saratoga meeting. For a trainer, that's a heck of a percentage.
Jerry, this has to be sweet for the Bonaventure Stables, her owner, trainer George Weaver. You go back to the undercard of the Black-Eyed Susan. She lost by a dirty nose in the Hilltop. Comes back to Saratoga, now wins this Anti-Mame Stakes.
You know, if you can say this, it might be more special at Saratoga because this is such a hard place to win a race at. Certainly redeemed herself.
Joe Rocco Jr., the winning pilot. Summer of Fun pictured now 3 of 8. Overall, as Randy mentioned, perfect here at Saratoga. 2 for 2, 8-6, 111. Much more on the Anti-Mame and a look ahead to the Fourstardave Handicap when we come back.
And next Saturday at 8 Eastern on NBC.
Got the tie on.
Posing for pictures in the winner's circle, Summer of Fun. Randy, trainer George Weaver is now batting better than 400 here at Saratoga. That's, you know, Ted Williams country. What does that mean to put up those type of stats specifically at this meet?
Well, it's not just the most visible meet in the country. It's also the toughest meet in the country in terms of competition. For a guy to be batting 43%, I mean, he's from Louisville. He's a former assistant of D. Wayne Lucas and Todd Pletcher. He's been on his own for quite a while now. There he is. There's George in the coat and tie there. What a meet he's had.
They give away more than $1 million a day on average here, so it not only is great recognition, he's going to make a lot of money.
Always a plus with Summer of Fun, who has now banked more than $265,000. Summer of Fun over Effie Trinket, Joy, and Magnificent Shirl. You'll see those results as soon as they're available. But first, this was the celebration following last year's Fourstardave Handicap, the day after John Velasquez was inducted into the Hall of Fame, and where the winning streak began for Wise Dan. 7 straight wins, 5 of the Grade 1 variety. So Wise Dan looking to go back-to-back as we check the current odds. Wagering has opened for the Fourstardave now. Wise Dan was 3 to 5 in the morning line. Randy, what price do you think he'll be realistically at post time?
Hey, he's 3 to 5 in the morning line, and normally morning line makers are a little conservative as you see Wise Dan training here at Saratoga this week. I'd say 2 to 5 or even possibly 1 to 5, despite the 129-pound impost he's got to carry.
All right, we'll see what those odds look like. Wise Dan looking to rack up his 8th consecutive victory. Again, that streak that began here at Saratoga, the reigning horse of the year, and he has earned more than $4 million. So here are the odds for this Fourstardave Handicap. And first click of the tote board, just like that, Jerry, he is 1 to 9.
And you know what? The way he does things, 7 races in a row in the winner's circle, he pretty much deserves to be. And unless he runs into a ton of bad luck, he's probably going to win again.
Wise Dan 1 to 9. If you're looking for a second choice, that would be King Creasa at 6 to 1. And you know, for those who like Summer of Fun, Randy, going in, 7 to 2 on the morning line, the word was out. Summer of Fun galloped and returns 550.
Absolutely.
All right, well, if you're a bobblehead collector and you're not here this afternoon, you're missing out. Look at that, a bobblehead for the Sultan of Saratoga Fourstardave. That's going to be given out to fans here tomorrow.
It's better than Jerry Bailey bobblehead, I can tell you
I
that.
have a Jerry Bailey bobblehead. I have a Randy Moss bobblehead as well, but it's
not. It's the
not
other
you.
Randy
It's
Moss.
the other guy.
I'm the original.
All right, so last year, Wise Dan reigned supreme in this Fourstardave Handicap. Terrific ride from John Velasquez. Why was he successful? How did he win this race a year ago?
As I spoke earlier, he's like a loaded gun ready to go off. John Velasquez in the yellow silk sitting, waiting for a seam to open. He finds it on the rail, and when he finds it, the acceleration that Wise Dan has is so instantaneous that it doesn't take long for him not only get in the hole, but through the hole and finish the win out.
You think that's tight quarters? Well, how about his last start at Churchill Downs in the Firecracker in a driving rainstorm? Look at the squeeze play that jockey Corey Lannery, to his immediate outside, puts on Wise Dan, literally bumping him into the hedge at one point. It's like an NFL running back trying to get through a little hole, and boy, did he.
And that's carrying 128 pounds. You see him kind of stumble there. It had just rained a ton at Churchill Downs, and the inside is the deepest, softest place to be after a rainstorm on that particular track. So even more impressive that he was able to accelerate so quickly through such, as Randy said, a tight spot.
And don't be surprised if you see him get exactly that same kind of trip again, because John Velasquez, his jockey, knows that he has that instant acceleration and can get him out of any trouble just like that.
Wise Dan Leah running 1-2 in the Firecracker last month. Donna Brothers standing by with Lee's trainer, Al Stahl, trying to pull off the upset. Donna.
Al Stahl in the midst of a solid meet here at Saratoga. He's had 3 wins so far, one of them in a stakes race. You've got the number 7 Lee in here, 2 for 2 at Saratoga. How's he training?
Well, being 2 for 2 at Saratoga gives us a little confidence coming to this race. He's been training great. He seems to be happy up here.
Second last time out in the Firecracker Handicap behind Wise Dan. How do you turn the tables on him today?
Well, I mean, it's all about the weight, really. He carried a lot of weight, and there was a good spread. And sometimes you don't get him the first time. Maybe the second time the weight will take its toll. I mean, that's our best chance because he's certainly the best horse, and we feel like we're going the right way. And we're very excited about taking him on today.
We talked about the weight spread earlier. Do you feel like the weight spread gives you a little bit more of an advantage in here than last time?
Well, especially because maybe that weight took a little toll on the horse on that soft going, and he's got to repeat it and do it again. So weight eventually catches up to all of them, and maybe today's the day.
All right, Al, thank you. Saratoga in the midst of its 150-year anniversary celebration. Lots of festivities going on. For more on that, let's go to Kenny Rice.
Thanks, Donna. Since Clark Gable and Jean Harlow starred in the movie Saratoga in 1937, Hollywood has filmed over 24 movies in and around this racetrack. So on this special anniversary, Saratoga has borrowed from Hollywood with a Hoof Prints Walk of Fame. Inaugural class of 30 of the greatest runners to ever be at this racetrack, including Native Dancer, who was a superstar as both a runner and as a stallion. His legacy going not only through Fourstardave, but a bloodline that runs through the veins of every horse in today's race. Lafitte?
He was known as the Gray Ghost, Native Dancer, the first racehorse made famous through the medium of television. Native Dancer's jockey was Hall of Famer Eric Guerin, which leads us to our Twitter question this afternoon. Tweet at Naira News, who's your all-time favorite Saratoga jockey? And that gentleman figures to be popular among those tweeting. Hall of Fame rider John Velasquez. He'll ride Wise Dan in search of his 9th overall win in this Fourstardave Handicap. Post time in 8 minutes. Stay tuned.
This fall, Michael J. Fox returns to NBC.
We both know NBC's gonna milk it by showing me in slow motion with lame uplifting music in the background.
Yes, Michael?
Lyle Overbay of the Yankees joins me Sunday on Mic'd Up.
From New York City, drive north for about 175 miles, turn left on Union Avenue, and go back 100 years. Legendary sports writer Red Smith's directions from New York City to Saratoga. Just how long has Saratoga Racecourse been in operation? The Battle of Gettysburg took place July 1st to July 3rd, 1863. Exactly 1 month later, Saratoga hosted its first horse race. 3 months thereafter, Abraham Lincoln would deliver the Gettysburg Address, and on April 15, 1865, President Lincoln was assassinated while attending a play at Ford's Theater in our nation's capital. Not the easiest segue, but there is the remainder of our summer at Saratoga schedule. Quick turnaround back tomorrow for the 2-year-olds in the Adirondack and Saratoga Special. Next week on NBCSN, the Alabama featuring Kentucky Oaks champ Princess Asilmar. August 24th, the Travers Stakes, and we'll wrap things up Labor Day weekend with a trio of stakes races. We told you he was popular, the racehorse Fourstardave, his own bobblehead, his own street sign, and a place forever etched in Saratoga history.
Fourstardave was a bona fide celebrity up here in Saratoga, and everybody wanted a piece of him.
Fourstardav's career at Saratoga began in 1987, and during his time at the Spa, he became a legend. 6 stakes victories, a track record on the Mellon Turf Course, and wins in an astounding 8 straight years. But his story wasn't all about the numbers.
Dave had quite a personality. People would start clicking pictures, and he would just stop and throw the pose to them, and really became a fan favorite, not just for his winning, but for the way he embraced people.
The combination of success and charisma made him a hit in Saratoga. He had his own street, his own t-shirts, a race named after him at the track, but one honor was sweeter than all the rest.
It was pretty surreal. I mean, here you have the mayor of the city giving a key, albeit a chocolate key, to a racehorse. He was truly a star here.
But when it was time to race, there was no question who was in charge at the Spa.
I doubt you'll ever see another horse race 8 years in a row in Saratoga, let alone win 8 years in a row in Saratoga.
When he passed away in 2002, Fourstardave was buried at Clare Court on the Saratoga grounds, where only 3 other horses have been laid to rest. It's a fitting final tribute for the one they called the Sultan of Saratoga.
How he touched people and the way he got into their heart, he's #1 in a lot of books.
Sultan of Saratoga versus Sultan of SWAT. Babe Ruth's career lasted about 13 years longer than Fourstardave, and while Dave did some serious damage here at the Spa, the Babe retired with a .342 batting average while slugging 714 career home runs. George Herman Ruth is buried in Hawthorne, New York. Fourstardave buried here at Saratoga Racecourse. Let's get down to Donna.
Well, Fourstardave started 100 times and had 18 different jockeys, but never Johnny Velasquez. Why is that significant? Because Johnny Velasquez is married to Leo O'Brien's daughter, Leona. Leo O'Brien happened to be the trainer of Fourstardave, but they got married in 1994, and by the time that they got married, Richard Migliore was already the rider for Fourstardave and remained that way through his 1995 retirement. That's Fourstardav's retirement. But at least Leo O'Brien's going to have a rooting interest in this race named after his beloved stable star. He's going to be rooting for Johnny Velasquez, the rider on Wise Dan. Let's go to Kenny.
All right, thanks, Donna. Jeremiah Engelhardt is putting the saddle right now on King Creasa, who comes in here having won 2 straight, including the Grade 3 poker. He comes in with a lot of confidence. He certainly has a lot of speed. I asked Jeremiah earlier, you changing any strategy? He said he's been a front runner. I intend to keep him as the front runner. As far as everything else, you see him stretch his leg out a little bit. He feels that he has a horse in here that certainly the bettors are thinking might have that shot at pulling some kind of upset today over Wise Dan. And certainly the Dan camp has given a lot of credit this week, guys, to King Creasa in the way that he ran the last time out in the poker, Lafitte.
All right, Kenny, the rapidly improving King Creasa, dangerous, quick, leaving the starting gate. Next Saturday morning, NBC and the NBC Sports Network become the exclusive home for the Premier League. Coverage begins at 7 on the NBC Sports Network, leading up to Swansea and Manchester United, Saturday, 12:30 Eastern here on NBC. When we return, a look first at the Fourstardave handicap odds and Wise Dan getting crushed. 1-5 with about 11 minutes to post. Some support for the horses towards the outside. You just heard from Kenny on King Creasa. He's 7-1, and Lee 7-1 as well. Wise Dan, 47 opponents faced, 47 opponents defeated during this 7-race win streak. We'll be right back.
Tomorrow, 12:30 Eastern on NBC.
From one iconic venue to another, this fall, follow NBC and the NBC Sports Network to Santa Anita Park for the 2013 Breeders' Cup World Championships, November 1st and 2nd on NBC and the NBC Sports Network. Crowd making their way front side, as is Wise Dan, Jerry, and there he is, Randy, and subject of today's daily racing form breeding profile.
Let's take it back to a mare named Lisa Danielle. That's her at Patchen Wilkes Farm in Kentucky. Does she look like a proud mama?
It's a big girl.
She ought to be. This is Successful Dan, a 7-year-old who last Saturday finished second to cross traffic in the Whitney Handicap. He's made almost $1 million. His kid brother happens to be the 6-year-old Wise Dan. Successful Dan has the track record at Churchill Downs for 1 1/16 miles. Wise Dan set the Breeders' Cup mile record last fall and went on, of course, to be named Horse of the Year. And there's one more in the pipeline, a filly named Enchanting Lisa, who here at Saratoga finished third in an allowance race back on July 28th. Quite a high-profile family.
Sam the Bugler welcoming the field to the front side in this daily racing form post parade for the Grade 2 Fourstardave handicap. And we'll start with the star in Wise Dan for owner breeder Morton Fink, 83 years old. He says he wants to see Wise Dan race for 3 more years.
It's because he is a gelding, so breeding him would obviously be futile. Won 8 of his last 9 starts, 16 for 23 overall in his career.
1-4 currently is Wise Dan. Number 2, Sky Ring for the Calumet Farm and D. Wayne Lucas, who won the Preakness with Oxbow.
Speaking of Dean Wayne Lucas, the leading money-winning trainer of all time, he won this race with Steinland back in 1989.
Number 3, Zaw Approval out. Mr. Commons in. At one point last year, he was thought to be the best turf miler in the United States.
He may be 12-1, but I think Mr. Commons, number 4, is the most likely upsetter to Wise Dan if there's going to be one. He's just got to kind of get out of his 3-race funk here so far this year.
The camera shy, where is he? There's Mr. Commons, 12-1, and Edgar Prado, who of course rode the late great Barbaro to victory in the 2006 Kentucky Derby. Number 5 is Willie Conker, a 9-time winner. He has earned more than $460,000.
Yes, and other than Wise Dan, he's the only horse in this field to have won a Grade 1, and that was in the Kilroe Mile last year where he beat Mr. Commons.
Number 6, King Creesa, who boasts the highest buyer speed figure in the field, 103.
He'll be the horse to catch, and he's ridden by 20-year-old Irad Ortiz Jr., who turns 21 tomorrow. His little brother, Jose Ortiz, 19, is the rider of Willie Conker, right next to him in the starting gate.
Number 7 is Lee, with Kentucky Derby winning jockey Joel Rosario in the saddle.
Not only did he win the Derby, he's the hottest rider in the nation right now, leading in most all categories. He's only ridden this horse twice. It was last year, but he won both of them. He's leading rider here at Saratoga, and he's already won 2 today, so he's on his game.
And that's the field for the 29th running of the Grade 2 Fourstardave Handicap, a.k.a. the Wise Dan Invitational. Field of 6 chasing the winner's share of a $500,000 purse. And guys, we've seen how agile, how poised Wise Dan is during the course of his races in the afternoons. But what about this recent bad habit he's developed in the mornings?
Well, I mean, he stumbled a couple of times. He stumbled in his races. We were watching after the firecracker. He stumbled, you know, after he got through that hole. I don't read a lot into that. Of course, you never want to see it, but I don't read a lot into that because he gets it done. He gets it done when the gate opens.
He's just a freak of nature who bobbles every now and then, that's all.
Balance and poise, that's what the Wise Dan fans want to see to say. And perhaps none more than trainer Charlie Lepresti, who's standing by with Kenny Rice. Kenny. We're hoping to hear from Charlie Lepresti, and looking at that video of him stumbling, are you concerned having seen that as Wise Dan tries to win his 8th consecutive race?
No. Well, one of the reasons horses are grass horses versus dirt horses because they waste very little action, almost a daisy cutter. They skim the very, very top of the surface they're on. And on an uneven surface like chewed up dirt or a turf course that has been chewed up a little bit after rain, horses like that are going to catch a little bit of dirt or turf and stumble. I don't see a big deal in it.
If he's going to lose this race, it's probably because of traffic trouble and one of the other horses gets a jump on him before he can get out. He can't get out in time. That's the most likely scenario if you're going to see Wise Dan being upset in here.
Heavy favorite Wise Dan for trainer Charlie Lepresti, the Brooklyn native, took out his training license in 1993 and now campaigning the Horse of the Year, Wise Dan. We'll be right back.
NBC in Sean Saves the World, Thursdays this fall on NBC.
Over the course of 150 years, not everything can remain the same, even at Saratoga. Sometimes change is forced upon us. Take today's race. Once known as the Darrell's Joy Stakes, that name was changed 17 years ago to honor Saratoga's rock star, the only horse to win it 2 consecutive seasons. Last year, the race, now known as the Fourstardave, was taken by a horse went on to be called Horse of the Year. Today, Wise Dan is back at the Spa, seeking a repeat of 2012. Will he follow in Fourstardav's footsteps, or will his 7-race win streak come to a close? Change is inevitable, and the Fourstardave is moments away. And there is Wise Dan on the track with John Velasquez, Randy Moss, and today's daily racing form formulator fact is...
Well, you think the fans have caught on to Wise Dan? You can get lifetime past performances on Formulator at drf.com. His first 14 races, 5-1 average odds since then. 4-5, 1-5. right now on the board.
Words out, he's a machine, and he's been unbeatable over the last calendar year. John Deere weather and track condition report. And you can see it's a gorgeous day in upstate New York. No humidity, 75 degrees, sunny. Turf course listed as good. Now we check in with Kenny Rice, who had a chance to run Dan Wise Dan's trainer, Charlie Lepresti. Kenny.
Well, Lafitte, as you can probably imagine, Charlie didn't have a whole lot to say before the race. He's a little anxious, but he said, you know, everything's going well. I asked him if he was more nervous last year coming into the Fourstardave. That's when his horse began this 7-race win streak. He said, oh, yeah, I was much more nervous last year. I asked him about the weight. He said, I've got total confidence in the horse. That's really all I want to say, guys. We'll wait till after the race and show that is what we shall do. Lafitte?
Thanks so much, Kenny. Jerry, when you're riding these heavy favorites, like when you rode Cigar and every time he was led over, he was supposed to win, is that enjoyable for a rider, or is it just a ton of pressure?
Well, if they're like Cigar and Wise Dan, they're legitimate. Yeah, it's great. It's a lot of fun. Johnny knows, listen, he's going to try and wiggle out down the backside and get a clear run, but he knows if he's boxed in, he has the acceleration underneath him, if Wise Dan is his normal self, to get out of almost any spot he finds himself in.
I mean, King Creesa almost certainly goes to the lead in here if he breaks well. Lee will be close on the outside. Skyring and Wise Dan will be right behind King Creesa down on the inside. And if you want to, you know, an idea of like how Wise Dan likes to run, 11 of his last 14 races, he's been third after a quarter of a mile, always between 1 and 3 lengths, so he likes to be right there in the mix.
King Creesa filing into the starting gate. Lee, the last one to load. It is post time. The Grade 2 Fourstardave Handicap. Odds on Wise Dan. Here's Tom Durkin.
And they're off. Skyring is sent after the lead, but King Creesa's got the best speed. Wise Dan in behind at the rail, making their way for the first turn, and King Creesa quickly establishes the front running position. Out there by 2 lengths. And Skyring tips to the outside as they move into the turn, and that gives Wise Dan a perfect early spot early on, saving ground, and down inside rail, racing in 3rd position. Right alongside him is Leah running along in 4th, then a break of 3 to Willie Conquer and Mr. Commons at the back of the pack. So they turn into the backstretch. The expected front runner is out there. It is King Creesa, the leader by a length. Skyring runs along in 2nd, and then Wise Dan with the Hall of Fame partner Johnny Velasquez, 3rd down toward the inside. He's under a light hold. And then Leah running along in 4th, a break of 5 to Willie Conquer, and Mr. Commons trails the field. The opening quarter went in 24 1/5 seconds, the half up in 47 2. The pace is reasonable enough. The leader remains King Creesa into the far turn. Wise Dan is pinned down inside 2 horses. Leah, who's moving on the outside. Leah now moves out to be 2nd. Wise Dan is 3rd down toward the rail. Now he comes off the inside for a clear shot at the lead. And now the field turns for home. King Creesa in front, and looming in behind is a horse of the year, and he's getting closer with 1 furlong to go. King Creesa clinging to that lead by a half length on that. Now they're on even terms, and now it is Wise Dan who's taken the lead. Wise Dan in front and pulling away as they come down to the finish. The heart of a champion on the wire by a length, Wise Dan and Johnny Velasquez. They win it by a length over King Creesa. Leah was 3rd, and Mr. Commons was 4th. The time for the race was a sparkling 1:34 flat over good going.
Unstoppable. 8 straight victories for Wise Dan. Back-to-back in the Fourstardave Handicap, a Horse of the Year performance from the reigning Horse of the Year.
Now, after the first quarter and half a mile, I'm sure John Velasquez was smiling because the pace set by King Creesa was honest enough that it made Lee and Skyring, who had Johnny and Wise Dan pinned in, use enough of their horse. They simply had no more when they turned for home, and the gap opened, and Velasquez was able to ease Wise Dan out and run down the leader, King Creesa. It looked easy, but Johnny won this race by sitting right in behind on the heels of King Creesa and making the horses that had him pinned in use their energy to keep him there.
Coming to the top of the stretch, if Joel Rosario had just a little more horse with Lee to get up alongside Wise Dan and keep him behind King Creesa, we could have had a different outcome because King Creesa held on there really toughly. But Rosario just couldn't stay up with Wise Dan and enable Johnny to tip out.
There's Jeremiah Englehart, trainer of King Creesa, Jerry, who did essentially everything but win this four-star Dave.
I'm sure he's happy that the horse ran as well as he did. That's exactly what he expected. But to Randy's point, yes, that's exactly why Joel didn't have enough horses, because he used energy down the backside and around the far turn to keep Johnny pinned in. And by doing that, he's emptier than he wanted to be turning for home. It's just, he's a hard horse to beat.
Donna Brothers standing by with the winning rider, John Velasquez. Donna.
Johnny, what an amazing horse. I mean, he impresses us so much every time we watch him. How much does he impress you every time you ride him?
I tell you, he's amazing. I mean, with all the weight they put on him, and he's still running the same way he's always done it, and come back right after race and show up the way he did it today is incredible.
You've ridden this horse a lot of times, but, you know, a lot of times you ride a horse and you learn something new about him. I think last time you learned what a fighter he is when he went through the boggy turf and still managed to come survive a rough trip. Did you learn anything new about him today?
No, I'll tell you what, I learned about him, how fighter he was when I rode him here last year on the Fourstardave. That was the first time he was in a really slow turf, really wet turf, and I was in the same way, the inside the whole way onto the 316 pole. He sprayed through the rail, and I knew then he was definitely very special to do what he did last year, and then he's overcome all these races after that.
Special for you, special for us to watch. Let's go to Lafitte.
All right, Donna, and Wise Dan winning, carrying those 129 pounds, Jerry, and conceding a lot of weight to each of his rivals.
Well, that's the end of that, because from now on Wise Dan's schedule, it's all weight for age. So his competition's in trouble now. They're all carrying the same package.
Wise Dan in full flight for the wire. Hall of Famer John Velasquez with a hand ride. Wise Dan in the four-star Dave Handicap, 2 consecutive years. Stay tuned.
Tomorrow at 5 Eastern on the NBC Sports Network.
And back at Saratoga, Charlie LaPresti's going back to the winner's circle for the 8th straight time on the reigning horse of the year, Wise Dan. What about his victory today, Charlie? What'd you see?
Well, I think it showed everybody what kind of horse he is with the weight on his back and the fractions up front. You know, they went slow the first quarter, and that horse really, King Creesa, ran a great race, and he just gunned him down, and he showed everybody under adversity he could still run the way we think he can.
Last year you went to Canada and Kentucky before the Breeders' Cup. What about this year?
You know, we're just going to let the horse tell us. As Mr. Fink always says, one race at a time. We'll see how he comes out. If he comes out good, maybe Woodbine, maybe wait to Kentucky. We'll just let him tell us.
I know you always like to talk after the race more than before. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
All right, thanks, Charlie. Lafitte?
He's won 17 of 24. Unbelievable. Wise Dan, the favorite, does not disappoint in the four-star Dave Handicap. Randy, as we look ahead, don't forget tomorrow at 5 Eastern, Summer at Saratoga coverage continues on the NBC Sports Network for the running of the Adirondack and Saratoga special. Summer at Saratoga continues tomorrow, 5 Eastern on the NBC Sports Network. And a look at the rest of our schedule for our Summer. You like his chances of repeating Randy Horse of the Year?
They're going to point him for the Breeders' Cup Mile again instead of taking a more ambitious approach. There's been a bit of backlash against that conservative schedule. So right now, I'd have to say the odds are probably against him.
Tomorrow, 5 Eastern, Summer at Saratoga coverage continues on the NBC Sports Network for the runnings of the Adirondack and Saratoga special. Summer at Saratoga continues tomorrow, 5 Eastern on the NBC Sports Network. Coming up next, except on the West Coast, your local news tonight starting at 8/7 Central. It's American Ninja Warrior, followed by Get Out Alive. Then at 10/9 Central, it's an all-new Do No Harm. For Donna Brothers, Kenny Rice, Jerry Bailey, Randy Moss, I'm Lafitte Pinkai saying so long from Saratoga, where we watched the Horse of the Year deliver once again 8 straight victories en route. The Horse of the Year is brilliant at the Spa.
Welcome to the U.S.